Success in this world can sometimes feel like a curse, especially when it brings not only wealth, but also endless suspicion. In a luxurious mansion nestled in the heart of a bustling city, Jacob Morrison, a self-made billionaire, renowned not only for his business acumen, but also for his sensitive and reflective nature, sat quietly by the window. His weary eyes, burdened by the years, gazed into the distance, where the sun was slowly setting over the horizon. The brilliant hues of orange and red painting the sky only served to highlight the emptiness reflected in his gaze. Jacob's mansion was not just a symbol of his success. It had become a fortress of solitude. The towering walls and cold iron gates seemed to protect not only the mansion from the outside world, but also to imprison his very soul within. Despite his life of abundance, Jacob felt trapped in a labyrinth with no escape, where every path led him back to the same haunting question: who truly cares about me? Jacob had traveled a long, arduous road to achieve the success that many could only dream of. From a boy growing up in the slums, he had built an empire with nothing but his bare hands. Yet, rising from poverty had left not only calluses on his hands, but also invisible scars etched deep in his heart. Friends who had once pledged loyalty had abandoned him as soon as he began to earn his first fortune. Even family members, whom he had trusted most, now seemed like strangers with eyes perpetually fixed on the wealth he had struggled to accumulate. Do they love me for being Jacob Morrison, a father, a husband, a brother? Or do they only love the title of billionaire attached to my name? He thought to himself, gripping the glass of wine on the table. In that moment, Jacob realized that no matter how much money he possessed, he remained a man plagued by anxiety, fear, and doubt. These thoughts grew heavier with each passing day, like a shadow consuming his soul. Even as he sat in a lavish room adorned with priceless artwork on every wall, Jacob could not escape the hollowness inside him. He longed for the truth, a truth that could free him from this torment. One day, Jacob made a bold decision. He would pretend to be gravely ill, losing his sight and becoming entirely dependent on his family. This was not merely a test. It was a journey to uncover the answer to the greatest question of his life. Would his family, those who smiled so cheerfully around the dinner table, truly care for him, or did they see him only as a vault of treasure? The following morning, he entered the office of his trusted lawyer, Lawrence. This middle-aged man, who had been by Jacob's side for years, knew every corner of his life, including its darkest secrets. Jacob looked at Lawrence with a resolute expression, though beneath it lay an indescribable sadness. "Lawrence," he called, his voice calm yet firm, "I need your help with a special plan." Lawrence looked up, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "What kind of plan, Mr. Morrison?" Jacob took a deep breath as if to muster more courage. "I'm going to pretend to be gravely ill. I need to know whether the people I love truly care for me." Lawrence froze for a moment, stunned, before meeting Jacob's gaze with concern. "Are you certain? This could lead to consequences you may not foresee." Jacob gave a faint smile, a sad but determined one. "Sometimes, the truth is the only thing that can set us free, and I need to know the truth." Jacob's plan began one summer afternoon when he made a crucial phone call to his wife, Margaret. "I'm not feeling well. Can you come and pick me up?" His trembling, weak voice alarmed Margaret. Without hesitation, she quickly drove to where he was waiting. Upon arriving, Margaret found Jacob slumped in the driver's seat, his face pale and exhausted. She helped him into the passenger seat and drove him home, worry etched all over her face. Once home, Jacob began pretending to have lost his vision and to be so frail that he could no longer do anything for himself. News of his condition spread quickly within the family. Margaret wasted no time calling their family doctor to assess Jacob's health. The diagnosis was grim. Jacob was supposedly suffering from a severe illness that caused vision loss and required complete rest. Initially, the family, including Margaret and their 3 children, James, the eldest son, Lucy, the middle daughter, and Anna, the youngest daughter, showed great devotion. Margaret immediately reorganized the household. She hired additional staff to help, ensuring Jacob had a proper diet, adequate medication, and a quiet environment to recover. Every day, she spent time beside him, offering encouragement and conversation. James often came home after work to check on his father's condition. Lucy, though busy with her own work, made an effort to visit and inquire about Jacob's health. Anna, the youngest daughter, took on the primary caregiving role, always by her father's side. She helped him change clothes, wiped his face, and told him cheerful stories to make him smile. Jacob, lying in bed and pretending to be sick, felt a small sense of comfort seeing his family united and caring for him. However, this period of harmony did not last long. As time passed, the family's initial dedication began to fade. After a few months, things started to change. Taking care of Jacob became a burden no one wanted to bear. Margaret, who had been the most devoted at first, gradually shifted her attention to managing Jacob's company, where she had taken on a temporary leadership role. She spent most of her time at the office, leaving Anna and the household staff to care for Jacob. James, instead of showing concern for his father, began scheming to take control of the family assets. Lucy, on the other hand, grew increasingly distant. Her visits became infrequent, and when she did stop by, she spent only a few minutes with her father before leaving. Anna remained the only one who stayed by Jacob's side daily. She ensured he was clean, comfortable, and entertained him with stories, songs, and even readings to make him feel loved. Thanks to Anna, Jacob felt a glimmer of genuine care amidst the growing indifference from the rest of his family. While Jacob lay pretending to be ill at home, his company began to face a severe crisis. Margaret and James, lacking management experience, made a series of poor decisions that led to significant financial losses. Overwhelmed by stress, Margaret sought solace in new friends, including a charming young man who was always eager to listen to her. Initially, their conversations were casual, but their relationship soon grew more complicated. Jacob, despite pretending to be sick, overheard everything from the household staff. Each new detail he learned tightened the grip of disappointment and pain on his heart. James, meanwhile, not only failed to manage the company effectively, but also began withdrawing funds for his personal projects. He frequently indulged in lavish vacations and extravagant spending, further pushing the company toward bankruptcy. Lucy, rather than stepping in to help, chose to stay out of the turmoil and focus on her own life. It seemed that all responsibilities had fallen solely on Margaret, leaving her with neither the time nor the energy to care for Jacob. One evening, Anna entered her father's room, her face filled with worry. "Dad," she said, her voice trembling, "I think we need to do something. Our family is falling apart." Jacob said nothing, but his heart ached upon hearing his youngest daughter's words. He knew that this plan had gone on for too long and that it was time to reveal the truth. However, before doing so, he wanted to observe just a little longer to confirm the doubts in his heart. In the days that followed, things deteriorated further. Margaret, now consumed by her relationship with the young man, often came home late or not at all. James and Lucy began arguing over the division of the family's assets, while Anna desperately tried to call for unity, to no avail. Once, Anna even had to intervene in a heated argument between her siblings when it nearly turned physical in the middle of the house. Finally, Jacob realized he could no longer continue the charade. One morning, he asked Anna to gather the family in his room. When everyone was present, Jacob took a deep breath and spoke, his voice low but authoritative. "Everyone, Margaret, I have something to tell you. I am not sick." The room fell into stunned silence. Everyone stared at him, unable to believe their ears. Margaret turned pale while James and Lucy exchanged confused glances. Anna, the only one who couldn't hide her emotions, burst into tears. "I've been pretending to be sick," Jacob continued, "to see who among you truly cares about me. And Anna, you are the only one who has proven that you do." Jacob turned to Margaret. "Margaret, I am deeply disappointed by how you've treated me and the company. You not only neglected me, but also allowed our company to spiral into crisis. James, Lucy, you are no better. Instead of supporting your mother and caring for your father, you fought and thought only of yourselves." Jacob's words struck like lightning, leaving everyone speechless. In that moment, they realized that their greed and selfishness had shattered their family and plunged everything into chaos. From that day forward, Jacob decided to entrust the entire inheritance to Anna, the only child who had stood by him during his difficult days. He also announced his plans to rebuild the company from scratch, this time with Anna as his partner. Margaret, James, and Lucy though ashamed, could not deny that they had lost Jacob's trust. This story is not only a lesson about loyalty, but also a reminder that genuine love and care are priceless. Jacob did not need wealth or fame. What he truly needed was a family that loved and respected one another. Jacob Morrison finally gathered his family in the quiet room where he had pretended to be sick for months. The air in the room was tense, filled with unease and anticipation. Everyone stood around his bed, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. Jacob slowly sat up, his eyes stern but filled with a trace of sadness. "I was never sick," he began, his voice calm yet heavy with emotion. "I faked my illness to test everyone's sincerity, and now the results are clear." His confession struck like a thunderbolt. Margaret, his wife, who once stood by his side through thick and thin, bowed her head in silence. James and Lucy, his two eldest children, avoided their father's gaze, their faces flushed with shame. Only Anna, the youngest, burst into tears, but they were tears of relief. She was not only overjoyed to learn that her father was not truly ill, but also deeply moved that her efforts to care for him had been acknowledged. Jacob turned his gaze to Anna, his eyes softening. "Anna," he said, his voice warm but resolute, "you were the only one who stood by me from the beginning to the end. You have proven your loyalty and genuine love. I have decided to entrust you with the company and all my assets." Jacob's words hit the family like a wake-up call. Turning to Margaret, James, and Lucy, he continued, his tone firm. "Wealth is not everything. Love, loyalty, and unity are the true values. But all of you, Margaret, James, Lucy, you have forgotten that." Margaret's eyes filled with tears as she stammered, her voice trembling. "Jacob, I am sorry. I let the pressures of work and life consume me. I neglected you, the husband I once loved with all my heart." James lowered his head and muttered, "Father, I was wrong. I let greed and selfishness blind me. I promised to change." Lucy nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Father, I don't even know what to say, except I'm sorry. I failed to fulfill my duties as your daughter." Jacob listened to each apology, feeling a mix of sorrow and regret. He knew this painful lesson had been necessary. Smiling faintly, he said, "Regret is the first step toward change, but words alone are not enough. From now on, show me through your actions." He went on to explain that he and Anna would work together to rebuild the company and restore its success. However, Jacob did not entirely exclude the rest of the family. He offered them a condition. If Margaret, James, and Lucy wished to be part of the company's future, they needed to prove their sincerity and commitment. "Family, Margaret, all of us must learn to love and respect one another," Jacob said, his voice filled with hope. "Don't let wealth or power destroy the bond we share. Family is the strongest foundation, and without it, everything else becomes meaningless." The lesson and a message. Jacob Morrison's story is not just a test of family bonds, but also a profound lesson about the value of love and loyalty. From his experience, we learn that wealth and success can never replace genuine relationships. Sometimes what we truly need is not more, but to cherish what we already have. Ask yourself, are we dedicating enough time to our loved ones? Or are we letting work, money, and external pressures overshadow the most important aspects of life? If you found this story meaningful, hit subscribe to the Life Stories 365 channel to continue exploring more inspiring and heartwarming stories. Life Stories 365 doesn't just tell stories, it shares values that matter in life. Each story is a journey of discovery, helping us better understand ourselves, gain new perspectives on life, and ignite the motivation to become the best version of ourselves. Don't forget to share this story with your friends and family. Spread the message of love, sincerity, and the importance of unity. Life is not just about how much you own, but about how much you love. Treasure and cherish those who stand by you, because they are your most valuable assets. Thank you for following this story. Stay with Life Stories 365 for more stories that inspire and reveal the true essence of life.